Welcome to Viseven Co-Creators, the podcast where we go behind the scene with people who shape the future of pharma and life science. And I'm your host for today, Roxolana, and we have a really special guest for me. So she is the head of Primary Sales EMEA. Please welcome Maryna Alekseichuk.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be here today with you. Thank you, Roxolana, a lot for inviting me to this very interactive journey, I would say. Please being here.
If you had to explain your role in simple terms, how would you describe that head of primary sales EMEA does at Viseven?
If I had to simplify it a lot, I would say that I'm connecting the dots that don't connect naturally by themselves. In other words, I often like to describe my role as being somewhere between the strategist, the consultant, and occasionally a therapist for complex sales situations, either internal or external, because we are all human beings and working or leading such stressful, I would say, unit inside the IT organization. Being the therapist probably is one of the key aspects, I would say, that any sort of the head of the sales within the primary, within the IT should have. And in the end, our goal is not to just sell the technology or our services or the specialists. It's actually to help our clients to reveal their business problems and make sure we are bringing the right people, the right expertise, and the right technology together for the common profit together with our clients.
What skills and tools help you succeed with the most, in your role?
Prioritizing the skills, I would probably put the most important that should live in the heart of any sort of the salesperson is the curiosity. Probably this is the most important skills that I would highlight for the sales organization. Due to the fact that markets change very quickly, pharma changes quickly, AI changes on daily basis, practically speaking, and it already interferes across all of the tracks or the capabilities that we enable on the side of the pharma clients. So if one stop learning, the clients will notice before you do even, right? So this is why the curiosity is probably on the top edge of the demanding skill, I would say, the soft skill or the strategic skill that I'm looking constantly for, even during the new hires or the acquisition of the new people toward the team. Then the second one that is truly important and probably sits somewhere between the hard and soft skills is the pattern recognition. Seeing common challenges or common business problems on the client side and identifying trends even before they evolve or become obvious. This is all thanks to these patterns identification, right? From the leadership perspective, I think transparency and trust are two core principles that personally myself lead and bring into any team that I'm leading. So because the teams do not need someone who either always has every answer and is all of the time right and has a right? Neither the person who is not aware or is not knowledgeable about the sphere or about the common challenges and the problems that his or her team is to follow or meet on daily basis. The teams need someone who creates enough clarity so people know where they are going. And probably the tools are so much important as well for the stable sales process, I would say. So these are a few common obvious tools. These are the CRM, the analytics platform for the data quick perception through visualization. These are nowadays definitely AI tools that everybody is equipped with. Of course, they all help. And of course, they help to structure the massive information across all of the team members and across the globe. But tools only accelerate what already exists. If the process or the thinking even behind them is messy, so any sort of the AI simply helps you become messy faster, or the CRM tool. So this is why and where the processes are to be prioritized first, and the proper thinking, and then supported by the technologies.
How did your career path lead you to this role?
My path evolved, to be honest, together with the Viseven, with the both Viseven growth and I believe my own curiosity to take on things slightly outside of my comfort zone often. So I started practically my role still within the sales department. So I've been working within the sales direction and the sales functions the majority of my career path. I felt like being responsible for everything and nothing at the same time from the very beginning, because we didn't have the fully defined structure on the level of the organization back that days. We didn't have that so complex, interconnected portfolio on the level of the Viseven side. No playbooks, no proper onboarding plans or the documentation. Very few tools, but very static and pragmatic. And being in the sales that days back meant being ready to jump into any sort of the conversation internally or externally with that level of confidence of someone who definitely knew that we're doing, while sometimes figuring it out, on the way. So learning via doing, I would say, is my credo of the career path throughout of all of my sales roles and sales masks. But over time, I realized I enjoy solving complex problems, like converting them into the structures where the chaos has been stabilized, so to say, and controlled. Because working with the people, for people, and with people, you cannot avoid the chaos. Somehow, after a couple of projects, after a couple of on-site workshops where you are trusted leader and expert by the big or small audience on the client side, after numerous challenges and few moments of controlled chaos, I naturally found myself moving toward the broader strategic responsibilities that Viseven leadership as an organization entrusted in myself, right? So the biggest lesson for me that I took out of this path so far is that growth rarely happens in perfectly planned environment. Very often it starts with simply saying yes before you know every answer. So the main idea is not to be afraid taking the challenges, and stepping into the not yet known environment, especially when you desire and you're passionate about, learning something new.
Primary sales works across many functions, regions, I would say many personalities even, not even about the jobs, we are talking about in personalities. So how does this collaboration look in practice?
This is exactly where chaos usually starts, to be honest, on the level of the collaboration. So very honestly, it sounds much cleaner on the PowerPoint slides, right, where we can all visualize how should one function interact with other, and all are united under the single goal and aim. In practice, primary sales sits in the interaction of the many other functions, organizational functions, right? between the strategy, the delivery, the product, the customer success management layer, partnership on the other side as the one part or type of the target audience of us. Marketing, the very close cooperation with marketing is essential for the sales, and the regional stakeholders. But our role of the primary sales manager is less about owning everything, especially all of those processes or the outcomes expected from each and every function or the role, but more about the orchestration, I would say. And the great analog for this would be conducting an orchestra. So where everybody is highly talented individually, but if everyone starts playing without the proper preparation, their own music at the same time, the result can become experimental, So the strongest outcome, to my mind, happens when everyone understands not only their personal zone of responsibility and goal, but also the bigger business aim and value behind all of us.
Maybe you can share some kind of red flags in primary sales that can can actually signal that potential will have some issues or risks.
So the first is definitely doing without the defined direction. So exactly if the team either does not understand or does not see the common value and the common aim of the everyday job. For example, any sort of the sales organization does have their KPIs, right? The key performance metrics or indicators. And very often for the sales organizations, these are on the quantity level, like quantity of the touch points with stakeholders. So the number of meetings, the number of messages, and if I, for example, see the high quantity of the meetings, of the conversations, of the commercial offers even, but without the tangible progress of the done deal, so business does not understand the productivity, automatically. So that is why the activity without the direction, or this busyness without the tangible outcomes or the commercial results, I would say this is the first red flag that you won't definitely identify, from the very beginning. But as soon, this is already, this red sign for me. Another one that probably I've been noticing from the very beginning in myself, when the salesperson becomes in love with a solution, before understanding the problem that solution resolves. So when I started my career, Viseven was the very first IT community in my life, and when I started getting involved into these different tracks of the business challenges that pharma stakeholders experience, or the pharma environment generally experience, and where all of our solutions and the services are aimed at, I truly fell in love with all of those portfolio that we have had that days before. There was a little bit smaller, but still. And that brought, from time to time, there are certain challenges for my personal growth as well, because even comparing to nowadays AI boom across any sort of the environment or the domain, it is truly important, first of all, to understand where is the business problem or the business issue that any sort of the solution might help you resolving that error, right? So while the client is not yet even ready to face the challenge, or is still trying to understand the actual challenge they are solving, the salesperson should first help them identifying or verbalizing that very sort of the challenge, and only then, like introducing the solutions that might help boosting the effectiveness or the performance as soon as the challenge is resolved. And probably one of the biggest one I was keeping in mind those minutes is the assuming instead of listening. This is the false perception or the overconfidence sometimes of us as a human beings. Because in sales, the moment you think I already know what the client needs, that's usually the moment when the clients start proving you are wrong. And this is where this overconfidence, even being based on the very great expertise of the sales personality, but when we start assuming instead of listening, especially when the client is already pushing back something that might bring you to, not to the done deal, so to say, or to the problematics solved on the client end.
This has been really such a great conversation, and I thank you for your openness, and I thank you for your energy, and I thank for your sharing the kind of insights you can only get from someone who truly living this every day. Thank you.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, if today's episode sparked something for you, share it with your colleagues, leave us a comment, and stay tuned for more conversations with the co-creators behind Viseven history, right? And until the next time, keep building, keep collaborating, and we'll see you at the next episode of Viseven Co-Creators. Thank you.